Which Bad Boys movie is the best? Let's find out. Welcome back, Kernels. I hope you're all doing great on this summer morning. So I went and saw the Bad Boys Ride or Die this weekend. And I already posted my review, but I was thinking to myself, well, this is the fourth entry in the series, so we should probably rank these at some point. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. So real quick, before we dive in, if you are new here, consider hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss any other rankings like this one. And keep in mind, there will be spoilers in this because I need to talk about each movie a little bit in depth in order to rank them. So if you haven't seen all of the Bad Boys movies yet, save this video and then come back later if you don't want any spoilers. And then also stay tuned for later this week when I'm going to be reviewing Inside Out 2 and then also updating my Pixar ranking. So again, stay tuned for that. Without further ado, let's dive into the Bad Boys. So coming in at number 4, I actually have Bad Boys 1. And the thing is, this is not a bad movie by any means. It just simply, I think what happens is that in this series, each installment gets better. And this one isn't, again, not a bad movie, and some might even say that this is better than a lot of the other ones. But for me, you know, it starts off, it builds the basis and fundamentals of what this series is about, but that's exactly what it does. You know, a lot of those other movies, they start cranking out like different ideas and unique things and twists on the fundamentals that get really innovative. But this one is just, you know, those basic things. And that's not to be said. Again, it's a great movie. Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, you know, they're doing their thing here for the first time. And without this movie, those other three would not be able to do what they do. So it's still, you should still have a very deep appreciation for this movie. As far as the plot of the movie goes, it's a little bit different than some of the other ones because it almost is like they take care of this girl who is like, basically, I want to say like witness protection, but essentially what ends up happening is that the movie revolves around her, and there is like the whole drug cartel thing, but it's mostly around her and, you know, figuring out this mystery of like who kind of like, how can we prove who actually did this kind of thing, instead of focusing a little bit more on the action, which it does have action. Again, it's just kind of the fundamentals of this series and what kind of kickstarts it off, but doesn't always mean it's going to be, you know, the best of the bunch. At number 3, I have Bad Boys 2. This is where the series really starts to pick up for me a little bit, because this movie doesn't only just involve like the drug cartel and things like that, but it also involves a lot of like action on action. Like, I feel like this movie is where the action really started to, like, I guess, develop and like really kind of see its own identity of the series, because action is a huge part of the Bad Boys series, but in its own way. It's not just simple mindless action. They do it in a way that's like very, like, I don't want to say cop-like, but it's very filmed like open up kind of thing. They kind of got that here. Also, this movie offers, you know, some more, not just Miami stuff. I mean, they are in Miami for most of the movie, but like they also have the entire police force behind them at one point, like when they try to flee to like Peru or something like that. I think it's like Peru or some kind of country like that, because they're over like USA lines or something like that, and they can't really do anything about it, so they kind of go on this risky plan to pretty much get the people that they love back. I believe it's Martin Lawrence's sister in the movie. But I think this is where the series really found like its grounding, and I think it only gets better from here. Coming in as a runner-up, I have Bad Boys for Life. This is a movie that just really starts to get on the personal levels of the Bad Boys series. Up until this point, it's really been about Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, and that's pretty much it, and just their work as a whole. With this movie, it becomes a much more family-oriented thing. I remember in my review for the new one, I had mentioned that this feels almost like similar to like Fast and Furious in the way that they like have a family of sorts. you kind of see like the resemblance. It's not totally about driving cars or anything, but the whole like idea of bringing together people, even if they're not actually your family, and just like making one big family group, especially with like the introduction of ammo in this movie, which I absolutely love that idea. You also get some things with Will Smith in this movie, like his son, and I say Will Smith because I sometimes forget, but I'm talking about Laurie, of course, with his son, and how he just kind of, at first it seems like he's just going to be this hitman and he's going to be the villain of the movie, and that's just going to be what it is. Until, you get this twist about halfway through the movie that this is his son, and not only that, but by the end of the movie, his son doesn't even know that Mike is his father. And then that carries over into the fourth movie, which is like a really interesting thing that they did, because you weren't expecting that at a very, action-packed kind of drug kind of movie. That's another thing to mention. This is the first movie in the series that primarily doesn't really deal with like drugs or anything like that. The first two movies are kind of all about that, and this is more of just a retaliation because of the hit that goes on Mike's life. And I thought that was just, I feel like this is where they try to change things up a little bit and make it feel a little bit more personal than just a blindless action movie, and it really worked here. But at number 1, I have Bad Boys Ride or Die. You heard me say that this is probably in my top 5 or at least top 10 for movies of this year, and it still sticks with me. I went in, I'm like, there's no way they're gonna beat Bad Boys 3. Bad Boys 3 just really did something for me, and voila, they beat it. And I think what does it for me is the fact that the third one had already, done some cinematography shots, and even throughout the series, they've been doing cinematography shots that, are here and there. This movie has so many cool action shots that aren't just like bland, or it's the one thing that I constantly praise like the Kingsman series for doing, in their really creative way of like showing action scenes. And I wish that was the normal for a lot of these movies, because it would make it that much more interesting. It's not hard to make an action scene, stick out from the rest. This is how you do it. And for me, it totally works here. Not to mention, in this movie, you kind of get to explore, now that the third movie has kind of developed this as like a family, and with, without Captain Conrad being here, it makes this story so much personal, because quite literally the movie's about the attack on saying, destroying this man's reputation, and he was a good man. And seeing them like defend that was really personal to them, because we've seen them throughout all 3 of these movies, so we know how we feel about the guy. And just watching that unfold, and then seeing, this family come together and defend their friend, along with some pretty cool action sequences. And like, also, I talked about in my review how their dynamic kind of changes in this movie, from like, they're still badass, but they also are like growing up. Like, they're in their like 50s or late 40s now, and I know Marcus in this movie, he like believes that he can't die because he has like cardiac arrest or something, and then Mike Lawrence's character, or Mike Laurie's character, starts to have like panic attacks, and it's just cool to see them, not just be these undefeatable heroes that we thought they were. It's cool to see them have a little bit of humility, and I really like that. So yeah, guys, that is my ranking for all 4 Bad Boys movies. Let me know what you guys thought about these movies down in the comments. What is your definitive ranking? Again, my list isn't the list or the right list, it's just mine. It's how I feel about these movies. I would love to know what you guys think about these movies down in the comments below. Or, what did you think of the new movie? And just kind of give me a rundown on what you think of this series as a whole. Again, I think this is a great, I don't know, kind of action comedy series. I think they should just kind of leave it alone now with the 4th movie, just let it be. But if they do make a 5th, I'm open to hearing them out. Just kind of have to play it by ear, if that makes sense. So thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos coming out this week. Until then, guys, peace.